As the leader of the Booner Path, I lead from the front.
All right, boys. Lock in.
It's our core foundation, man. Grit.
I'm fired up. I'm fired the fuck up, boys.
It's pumping right now. It's got my juice pumping, boys.
Welcome to Crunch M Sports, the Crunch M Sports Show with Jeff Iafrate and Booner. We are back. It is Thursday, March 19th. March Madness. Booner's Internet. Dan and Brad beefing, according to Mike Valenti. I don't know. We'll talk about it all. And Cade Cunningham and the injury he sustained that absolutely sucks. But maybe
am I here?
We'll talk about it all. Yes, you are. You're good now.
I'll tell you what. I didn't even know the show started. I was sitting back putting the tweet out of Mike Valenti, and then usually the countdown pops up. It didn't even pop up for me. It went straight from me and Jeff talking to me and Jeff talking live on air. There was no countdown for me. It's like my whole computer just glitched on me. So here I am.
You know what? You're battling, and you're doing a great job.
Yeah, how about it, man? The internet gods have gotten me.
But yeah, we have a lot to get to today. We'll talk about the Dan and Brad stuff, what Mike Valenti said, our opinion on that. Again, you know, the validity and our opinion on that. But before we get to the Cade stuff, like March Madness, we're here. Upsets are here. Shout out High Point. They helped out my bracket in our Crunch Time Sports, our challenge we got going on, where everyone, I think we have like almost 90 submissions in the challenge.
Yeah,
so.
we had like 15 yesterday. We were texting each other like, are we going to have enough people to do this? Like, are we about to give a jersey away with a pool of 15 people? And we almost have 100 people now, which is sick. So shout out to the people for joining. And shout out March Madness, dude. It's on. I text you boys first thing this morning. I said, let me know if you guys want my picks. I will send them all day. I'm usually a god when it comes to betting March Madness, and I dominate every year. And you text back and said, I'm good, Boone. Caleb said he wanted some picks. And, yeah, there's only one god, I'll tell you that, because I've gotten absolutely killed betting games today in March Madness. It's actually been insane. I switched to live betting because I was like, I need to watch how the game's going before I even put my money on it.
To be fair, you were like, Jeff, tail my bets. And I said, I'm scared. Everything besides the NFL I lose on it. But you're a type of bettor. You know what? You're the type of bettor. You start warming up as the tournament goes on. You start catching heat. You know,
I'll tell you what, like the first 4 or 5 games. Oh no.
No, you're back. You're back. You're so
This
back.
is gonna be such a disaster all show, dude.
You look great. You look great now. There's no blurriness or nothing. You look great.
I don't even know what to do at this point. Like I'm at a point where I don't even know. I think I have one more idea and I could try this out. Maybe I could just go on my my phone's Wi-Fi.
Don't do that. Do not do that. I tried it one time. Disaster.
What happened?
You look fine. You don't look blurry.
Yeah, but it's just weird because like right there I went to go talk because you stopped talking, but then the only reason you stopped talking is because like you froze. And then like you were still talking. It just delayed 5 seconds on my end. So I was just talking. Yeah. It's all right. We'll figure this out.
We'll get through it. By the way, Duke almost lost today. Almost messed up my it almost ruined my bracket right off the bat. I have Duke winning it all, and they almost lost. Can you believe? Have you checked the box score? I didn't. Siena play all their starters.
Siena didn't sub once the whole game. They
the
played
entire game. They played their starters 40 minutes.
Which I'm kind of mad at the coach because I ended up at halftime. Siena was up 11, and they were 7.5 point dogs still. So I took Siena plus 7.5, and then I took them plus 600 money line because I was like 6-1 still. They're up 11. Like this could be a miracle here. So I took it, but I didn't know that they just don't sub. Like they just went 5 guys for 40 minutes, and I've never seen that before. Lance said they only had 1 sub. That might have been at like the very end because of a foul or something.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So like it was, but it's like, dude, like if you're the coach, if I was a player, I'd be like, these guys are tired. Like there's no like, you will never beat Duke playing 5 guys unless you have 5 All-Americans because they have 10 deep, and you're Siena. Like, do you think you can really outplay Duke? your conditioning's not even close to theirs. Like, and you're talking about 5 guys to beat the best team in the country. Come on, man. Like, that was ridiculous from that coach. Like, his bench can't be that bad, right? Like,
well, yeah. I mean, it's a ballsy move. I mean, it's a ballsy move, man. They couldn't buy a shot for like 6 minutes, dude. I mean, it just got to a point where those guys, their legs were just out. They couldn't make a shot.
Dead. They were missing. They missed probably like 10 dunks in the second half.
Yeah,
it was embarrassing for them. Michigan right now is an absolute battle too. By the way, they're playing Howard. They're only up 9 with 3 minutes left of the half, but they have scored 4. I took their team total over 90.5 or 91.5, and they're at 45, I think. So
on pace.
I've got a lot of action going right now. There's 4 games going. I've got action on the 4 games. So my head's gonna be turned a little bit. It's March, baby.
Lance says, yeah, it was at the end of the game. The cardio was crazy to run 5 game, nearly a whole game. I mean,
especially versus the best team in the.
Yeah. That was a ballsy decision. Absolutely ballsy decision there. I see people are already talking Lions. I see Ibrahim says Cade Cunningham news is crazy. We'll get to that because that was the big news that happened. I mean, I was up this morning. I get a notification, and it's a notification I just hate to get. I truly hate these types of early morning notifications. And we actually, Cade went down, and many were assuming that it had to be like a back injury or something. It didn't look as significant as it was reported, obviously, when he got hurt. But you get the notification this morning that Cade Cunningham, MVP candidate, Detroit Pistons All-Star, MVP, has a collapsed lung and will miss an extended period of time. I love. Don't you love when you see that, miss an extended period of time?
Oh, especially when there's like 4 weeks left of the season.
Yeah, like it's the out. It's always, you know what? I hate the out indefinitely. That sucks because then you don't even know what that means. It's like it could vary. It could be
for the year. It could be for like a month. It could be like a week.
Yeah, it could be 2 weeks, a month, 2 months. Like you said, the year, whatever it is. You just don't really know how much time. And it's not a common injury. I think that's what, because when I saw it, I'm like, collapsed the lung. Like, Jesus, like, hopefully he's okay. And then you start doing more research into it. And there's only been a handful of these injuries in recent years. And Kevin O'Connor put this out of all the guys that have sustained the injury. So Kevin O'Connor put Cade Cunningham's collapsed lung could keep him sidelined for the rest of the regular season, but not the playoffs if past recovery timelines are any indication. So CJ McCollum had it twice, which is kind of crazy, actually. CJ McCollum had it twice. He missed 12 games over 3.5 weeks in 2023, missed 18 games, 6 weeks in 2021. Terrence Jones missed 2 weeks, 6 games in 2015. And Gerald Wallace missed 3 weeks, 7 games. Average of 10.8 games over 3.6 weeks. The Pistons have 14 games remaining with 1 month until the playoffs. Cade has played in only 61 games. He may lose out on MVP and All-NBA eligibility if he doesn't return sooner, which honestly sucks for him. Like, I hate that.
Yeah, it's brutal.
I hate that part of it. Like, obviously, you just want him back for the playoffs, but, like, side note, that sucks. To lose out on MVP, just being a candidate and All-NBA eligibility, which is massive. Like, we're talking, when you want to make the Hall of Fame at the end of your career, you're looking at All-NBAs. You're looking at MVP, like, where he ranked in MVP odds or top 4 finish, whatever it is. So that sucks. But my immediate thought process when I first saw the news, I know we were in the group chat texting about it. I'm like, it's over. That was my initial reaction.
Did you see the video I sent? That was my first. I
didn't.
The cash out of my bet.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You cashed out of your Pistons championship bet.
For $2
at like $2.
Yeah. I was just it is one of those things, dude. Like, it's so disappointing. As soon as it came across my phone, Caleb was like, hey, he texted me, Booner, I'm gonna post communicate, Booner posted breaking news for Cade. I thought in my head, I was like, oh, dude, like, win like player of the month again. Like, is he maybe like coming? Is he returning to play? I know he had the back thing. I was just like, what's happened? And then I open it up and you see like out for an extended period of time. Collapsed lung, and like my heart dropped. I'm like, oh my gosh, like that sounds, by the way, that injury sounds like if my lung collapsed, it sounds like I should be dead. Do you know what I mean? Like a collapsed lung. Like, I should not be breathing. So when you see that, you're first of all like, whoa, like, is he okay? And then you start thinking and you're like, oh, like after you realize, oh, like he could be back in a month or a couple weeks, then you start to realize season's probably over. And if he misses the first round of the playoffs, I don't see a world where I'm just like confident that this Pistons team, even with Stu kind of hurt too, this Pistons team's going to go out there. If last year with Cade, they couldn't beat the Knicks in the first round, you think that they're going to be able to win a playoff series without Cade in the first round this year? It's like, to me, it's just like, and even if they do get through the first round, and it feels like this season's now all of a sudden out of reach, and you are still the number one team in the East, but that feels like that's going to fall very soon, and it's just a matter of time. And it's doom and gloom. I'll tell you what, the future, the next few years looks bright for the Pistons, but I was saying 2026, it's doom and gloom currently for the Detroit Pistons, sadly, because even before he got hurt, like they were playing bad and they were losing to like they play the Thunder, they play the Spurs a couple times, and it's like, hey, these are teams that you have to want to win a championship. You compete with those teams, and they're losing to them, and they can't beat those teams. And you're looking like the Cavs without Donovan Mitchell. You're a little concerned already. And then like kind of leading into it, it's like I said a couple weeks ago, I was at work. I was like, there's just no, like, I don't see this Pistons team winning a championship anymore. 3 months ago, I was all in on it. Now I was like, there's just no way. And then this just kind of solidifies it. And it does suck for Cade too, by the way, the all NBA stuff. Like, and I think the rule is fine. The 65 games that you want guys playing if they're going to get awards. You don't want guys playing 50 games and getting an award. That's just not fair. So the rule, I understand it, but it just sucks. It's very unfortunate for Cade Cunningham. Luckily, he had his extension, I think, last year. I don't know how much it would have gone up, but I know from being third team All-NBA last year, I think his extension went up by like $50 million or something like that already. So luckily, it's not like, I don't know if it would have changed anything this year, but people are saying chill. It's over. The season's over. Winning a championship.
I don't know. It depends. I think the 1 seed probably at this point is in question for sure, because I think the Celtics are 3.5 games back. So you're probably going to drop the 1 seed, assuming they won some games without Cade, but I don't know about this stretch. I mean, a couple of weeks, I'm not confident that they're going to maintain what they've been doing. So they'll probably drop some in the standings, maybe like a seed or two. Hopefully it's just a seed. But like Ryan said, second seed, we were faced the Knicks in the second round. If Cade's there to start the playoffs, I feel a lot better. If he misses the first round, then we're talking like, all right, getting through a round without Cade's it's terrifying. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say it isn't. It's just really when he comes back, because J Hart says Cade will be fine, guys, as long as his lung wasn't punctured, which wasn't reported. His recovery should be around 2 weeks, which is what was reported too. If it is 2 weeks, and
I bet you he's out for the season.
So you're already there.
For the playoffs.
You're already.
I think for the regular season, why would they rush him back? Collapsed lung.
But if he gets back for the playoffs, you think there's no chance even they have it
for the playoffs, maybe. But like even before he got hurt, I don't know. Like people are telling me to chill. I can't be the only one that was questioning the Pistons over the last month. Like that, dude. Every time they've played a good team, they've lost, and they've beaten some good ones. But every time they've over the last month, like in Cade too, by the way. I put the Cade Cunningham MVP bet in like a month ago or whenever it was, when he was about to have that stretch of like the Cavs, the Spurs, the Thunder. And Cade just had like 4 straight games where he just did nothing. And it's like, dude, like, what are you doing? What are you like? You had an opportunity.
I'm going to you because you remember we had this argument.
And the defense. I just don't know right now. This team's not playing well together offensively, defensively. I think when I had that conversation, offensively, they were playing at a higher level when it comes to like efficiency and things. They're no longer doing that. And then defensively, you have to play like in an elite level defensively if offensively you're going to be bad.
Well, offensively, they've scored 120, 30
What's their defense look like versus like the Thunder and the Cavs and stuff? Do you have those numbers versus the good teams? That's what I'm worried about. I'm not worried about when they played the Wizards and scored 140
Yeah, well,
points.
Okay. And this is where, when we talk about the playoffs, my concern was you're facing these great top of the East teams for the playoffs. If Cade isn't giving you what he's been giving you in these high moments where he's giving you 38-8, whatever, being a Superman, things are going to look a lot more difficult on offense.
You know what? This is the second time in a couple weeks I'm saying this, but you might have been right. So how about that? Kudos to me for admitting it.
Well, Yeah, well, I hate it. I hate this. I hope he comes back. I think they can win a playoff series if he comes back, maybe a playoff series or two. I wouldn't be surprised. We talked about, like, they can make a run. I just don't know if they're good enough to win an NBA championship. That was my point. It's not that I don't think they'll get bounced right away or anything like that.
And this is too, like, I hate this. Like, Jay Hart's like, we have a winning record versus top teams. Like, everyone keeps telling me that. But again, it has nothing, like, I don't care what your winning percentage is versus top teams. Like, there's context to that. When you lost to the Cavs twice, they had, I'm pretty sure the only time you beat them, they had no James Harden or no Donovan Mitchell. Then they add James Harden, they still beat you. Like, you've lost to the Spurs multiple times. You lost to the Thunder. And, like, yeah, you've beaten some good teams. But, dude, we're talking about winning a championship. I'm not talking about winning a series or two. Like, yeah, maybe they win a series or two and they go to the Eastern Conference Finals. Awesome. But I'm not talking about, like, I'm talking about winning a NBA championship. Doesn't feel like they're at that spot yet. And they were 2 months ago. If they were playing like they were 2 months ago, I would say, yeah, they're right there. They're not, like, if you're going to sit here and argue with me and say that they are, you're lying to yourself. You're being a fan and you're just trying to, like, you're trying to convince yourself that they're at that level, which they're not. They're one of the best teams in the league, but they're not at that Thunder level yet. And I thought they were a couple months ago.
Well, they beat the Thunder once, and the Thunder had no one playing. So I'm just being real. Like, it's hard.
Okay, there it is. Like, no SGA, yeah. no Jalen Williams. Like,
yeah,
come on, man.
You need sometimes the context is important with some of those games. They have beaten good teams.
They have a winning record for these teams. It's like people
it's just different. It's different, and I'm not trying to poo-poo. The Pistons are fun to watch, and I think they can probably, again, they can still win a series. They can still be great to watch. They're fun to watch. They're still going to be good. They're still on a great trajectory when it comes to what they're doing right now. But my biggest point is at the trade deadline, they just need more firepower. They need one more guy that can go get a bucket. That was my point. One more guy that can go get a bucket. They don't have. Jalen Duren's been playing better. We know what he is, all-star and everything. But
I don't understand how people actually think, like, right now this team is good enough to go. Like, I don't. Like, it does baffle me. Maybe this is how I'm feeling, how you felt when 2 months ago when I was on my high horse, boosting the Pistons up. But this is how
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. This is one of those takes. I don't say it often, all right, because it's fun being right. I understand that. I hope I'm wrong. I really do. I hope I'm wrong. If the Pistons win, I'll be the first to be like, you know what? I just didn't think this year was their year, and they proved me wrong. I think in the next year or two, given what happens in the offseason, they can get to where they want to go. I just don't know if this is the year. It's unfortunate, though, with Cade. I mean, you still want to see them make a playoff run and try and do some things. So hopefully it all works out for him. I do want to get to this Valenti thing because so Mike Valenti yesterday, it was actually yesterday, it wasn't today, but the doc shared, he put out the article basically sharing what Valenti said. I think Valenti said it, no one really noticed it, and then I guess Doc heard it, reported on it that Valenti said it, and now it's all over Twitter and everyone's reacting to it. So it was actually I looked through today's show and I couldn't find it, so I had to go back to yesterday's show with Valenti and Rico, and I found it. And this is what's been going all over Twitter and the internet, and because we talk a lot about the offseason and Brad and Dan and how they're handling things. I know at the end of the year, me and you spoke about it after Dan's press conference, and Dan was just adamant on changes and, kind of looking in the mirror, adding more competition, etc. Whatever. He just clearly upset about how the season kind of went. And then we heard from Brad, and he kind of echoed some of the similar things, but Dan was a lot more a passionate and more pissed off about it. You could tell. Not that that's an indictment on Brad. I'm just stating how it was. But here's the clip of what Mike Valenti said that he heard about Brad and Dan this offseason. Let's take a listen.
And I'm not being coy, but I'm also not in the business of burning people. Someone who covers the team told me that this was the first offseason. There are definite differences of opinions on roster construction between Dan and Brad. Okay? You take it for what it's worth.
Fair enough.
I mean, that's the best I can do for it, James, because I'm not going to burn somebody. But I've said this multiple times. If I were Dan Campbell, I'd be pissed. The hell am I doing here? 9 wins is not acceptable. Where's my help? The hell is this? No, I don't think Dan Campbell lies awake at night with a fat head of DJ Wanham on his ceiling. I mean, what are we talking about? Where are my players?
I mean, to be fair, the last point's probably true. I don't think Dan's looking at a fat head of DJ Wanham on his ceiling when he goes to bed at night. But I've said this before. This is just me. This is just my opinion. Okay, this isn't like information I've heard or anything like that. I think Brad and Dan are in lockstep. Okay, with a lot of the moves that they decide to make throughout this entire tenure of them being together. It's actually funny looking back that they didn't even know each other before they got there. So now they just speak, they've established this connection. They've built, a good product for years. And I have this theory when people say, number one, when people say there's no way these two argue. All right. There's no way these two argue and disagree. I disagree with that. I think these are two alphas that there's going to be disagreements. I don't think that's breaking news. I bet you that Dan and Brad have disagreements and they work it out. So I don't think it should be a surprise to anyone that Dan and Brad are disagreeing. I also think there is a world where as much as Brad lets Dan coach and he gives him and he trusts him, he knows like this is your this is what you do. This is what you're great at. I'll let you handle the hires and, I might weigh in and give my opinion, but you will hire your coordinators. Whatever happens on the field, the product on the field, you handle. I think that's similar to Dan and Brad. I think when Brad goes, hey, I'm trading up for a guy like Isaac Tesla. I love him. I think Dan's like, hell yeah, let's go get him. Like, I think there is that trust with both of them. I like when you saw the clip of Dan be like, oh yeah, I like Isaac Tesla. I think Dan is like watching some film, but I think he's just like, I trust you, Brad, whatever you like. So I think there's some decisions where, like, for example, and I've said this before weeks ago, if Brad were to just wake up one day and be like, you know what, we're going to make a big trade today. We're going to go and get a really big time player. I think Dan would be like, hell yeah, let's roll.
Agreed.
Like, I don't think there's like this, like they're both like, yeah, no, we're good. I think there is a lot of Dan trusting Brad and Brad trusting Dan. So I don't know how real this report is. But I would bet you guys any money that, I think Dan kind of lets Brad do his thing and Dan's just like, all right, I like it. I like it. Maybe there's some things he wishes Brad did more. That's just me assuming. But I don't think there's like turmoil. I'm not going to go that far, Boone. I don't think there's just like turmoil or this, there's beef between the two. But yeah. Like I think Dan's I think anything Brad does for the most part, Dan's going to be a fan of. And maybe some things he might be like, hey, I might need more help over here or there, et cetera. But I think people are quick to dismiss the report because Valenti said it, which I understand. It's sometimes not the message, it's the messenger. And because Valenti said it, and Valenti gets a lot of shit as it is, people are like, oh, this guy's an idiot. He doesn't know what he's talking about. But if someone else said it, they'd be like, well.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Well, I think honestly,
he heard it from someone else. That's what Valenti said.
A lot of people are saying, oh, don't listen to Valenti. I think, again, if you listen, Valenti did say someone that covers the team told him that. So someone that everyone likes, I'm sure, that trusts, and if they put it out, I can guarantee you people would be like, whoa, wait a second. But obviously it went through a different source. And hey, I'll say this, like, to the fans that don't think it's true, or to the fans that are trying to act like, oh, Valenti said it. Welcome to media, where there are people with a million reports, and there are people that might be close to the team or might know things that they don't put out because they don't want to, or they feel like they can't. And they'll put it out away, like through a Mike Valenti, or through maybe Crunch Time, or through, just different things. And they'll put it out there in different ways. It's the same thing like with agents when they were trying to help their players get contracts. Like, hey, the players can't come out and straight up say it, but agents can reach out to Adam Schefter, or agents can reach out to these, these reporters and give a little, hey, boom, boom, boom. And then these reporters come out and say, I'm hearing that this is happening. And I listen, I'm not going to dismiss the Valenti thing. I think Valenti has someone, and Valenti's been in this town for a while, whether you like him or not. I think Valenti actually spoke with the trusted source that works or reports within the organization, not in the organization, but covers the team. One of probably the beat reporters that we all know, I'm guessing. So I trust it. And I said this, and Jeff, I don't know if you remember, and you do remember, we talked on the phone about it today. I said the week we got back from the combine, that it felt like to me when we were there that there was maybe, you kind of connect the dots with the answers from Dan and Brad from the post-season press conferences and then to the combine press conferences. And you take a step back real quick and you go, all right, listen to both of them. You could tell that there was a little bit with Dan of like, we need to get some things done here. Like things that need to happen. And what I said after was the sense that I get is I could see if Brad or if Dan was a little frustrated for Brad not having this roster completely ready, whether it's injuries or not. But like perfect example, Jeff, last season, Brad never got a replacement for Frank Ragnow, and knowing for years that Frank was going to potentially retire, everyone in the building knew that this was going to come up at some point, whether it was last year, this year, the year before. This has been a conversation of talk. Brad never addressed the center position. And then last offseason, guess what happens? You lose Kevin Zeitler, you lose Frank Ragnow, and all of a sudden, Dan Campbell, a guy whose team's built on the trenches, doesn't have the trenches. And it's gone. And Dan, and I told you, Jeff, like, I feel like Dan, like, yes, if you're a fan, man, and you want to listen to everything, fine. Or if you're someone covering the team and you want to always just be go happy about it, fine. Dan's not going to go to the media or go into the spotlight and be like, this offensive line was bad. Like, Brad never gave me a good offensive line. No, he's going to go out there and be like, hey, we love what we got. We're going to roll forward and we're going to figure this thing out. But just like every single fan and everyone who covers the team takes a step back and looks at the offensive line and goes, how did Brad Holmes give Dan Campbell such a bad offensive line in 2025? Like, how did Brad do that, right? Like, you're building the team and you let the offensive line slip away on you. That's a fact. You can't tell me that Dan Campbell, the back of his head, is a little like, come on, man. Like, we are good friends. It's like, come on, man. Like, me and you, Jeff, we work, dude, we're business partners. We're close together. There's things that I do. You're like, boo. Like, what are you doing? It's the same thing with Dan. Like, he's probably like, Brad, like, how did this happen? How are we not prepared here? How do I not have another edge rusher yet? Why is like an Alex Anzalone leaving? Why are a lot of my guys leaving? What are we doing here with the roster construction? So I think that, like, if you look at it in that sense, and it's not a bad thing, but I think if you look at it in that sense, I think it starts to make a little bit sense where you're like, yeah, I can see why Dan might be a little frustrated because his legacy and his coaching is on the line, and he has to do with, he has to win with what he has. He's not the GM, and he has to really trust in Brad Holmes to give him the right pieces, whether they work hand in hand or not. It's Brad's call at the end of the day. And if Brad's not making these big trades that maybe Dan wants to do, or Dan wants specific players and Brad's not able to get them, you're in year 5 or 6 now and you're trying to win a Super Bowl. There might be some discourse. And after what happened last year, where that roster essentially just dwindled down and Dan had nothing to work with, I can see why Dan Campbell in this offseason might be a little taken aback. Like, you got to figure this thing out for me. Like, I can't do this with the depth anymore. You need to, 1, get me depth, and 2, you got to make sure I have players. Like, that's how I look at it. I think you could go roll around the roster and see all these different things with that, and maybe see why Dan might be a little,
absolutely,
little discourse within that building.
Absolutely. I think there's and it's not, I think both of them have made their own different decisions that fans have a right to be frustrated with. I think there's, like, for example, Graham Glasgow playing center or playing right guard when he's a left guard or whatever. That is Dan. Like, Dan called him, and I'm not sure if that was Brad to Dan or whatever, but, Dan hiring his coordinators, putting Graham at center. Obviously Dan can only control what personnel he has. So I think there's some blame to go on both sides, but to say and to be naive enough to be like, there's no problems, these guys never disagree, you're an idiot, I don't believe it.
We're human, right?
Disregarding. Yeah. Like, dude, these two guys are, they're prideful. I mean, as they should be. Dan's resume is his record. Like, that's his resume, how many games he wins, playoff success. Same with Brad Holmes. Like, they both, and they want to do it together, obviously, but Brad and Dan, I think, have a lot of things they feel, this is how we're going to get it done. I think they're aligned in a lot of ways, but I still believe, and this is what I mean when I was talking about it earlier, I think Dan could work with a lot of GMs. Like, I think if he was with a different type of GM that was more aggressive, I think Dan would blend in fine. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think it's like they're perfectly. It's not like these guys worked for the same organization before. It's not like they were both in LA under Sean McVay or in Les Snead, and then they both kind of came. Dude, like Dan was with Sean Payton and Brad was with Les Snead. They came from literally across could do different parts of the country, and they came together.
Yeah.
So it's like to say that these guys don't see some things differently is just not being naive. Like whether
I'll tell you what.
Like someone in the comments said the Taylor Decker situation, like who knows how Dan feels? Like maybe Dan wanted a veteran at left tackle. You think he's excited to have a rookie at left tackle this year? Probably not. You know what I mean? But they also understand we're trying to save some money. But I think there's some things that Dan probably would he have liked the Lions to be more prepared for Frank Ragnow, to what the chat's saying? Probably. Probably.
Yeah. I could almost bet too, though, like with all this. We all like if you're sitting here being like, oh no, they're perfect, like they've never. I could bet you over the last few years there have been situations with Brad and Dan where they've sat in a conference room or in a room together and disagreed, right, and had back and forth. And maybe it's not a back and forth where they're yelling and mad at each other, but it's a back and forth. Like, no, I think this is the better thing. And Brad's like, well, no, this and this, like that happens. And I think the point to Valenti, whoever told Valenti this, whatever reporter kind of told him this, I think there's a point to where they obviously heard something that this offseason has a lot more or a little bit more of that disagreement of being in a room, being like, no, I want to do this, I want to do this, and that pushback with each other than there has been in years past. And if you actually have like a sensible mind and can understand and logically think about it, that's probably true, because this is probably the most tension, or not even tension, but the most pressure that this organization has had since those two guys have stepped in the building. They went to an NFC championship game in 2023. The next year following, they won 15 games and got bounced because their roster wasn't deep enough and they had a million injuries. And then the next offseason, everyone knew, hey, they have to build a deeper roster. Injuries happen. You need to figure it out. That can't be an excuse. You have a Super Bowl roster. And then the next year, there were even more injuries, and you didn't even make the playoffs. Like, there has been regression for 2 years, and it's you could blame it on the roster, you could blame it on the whatever it is, or injuries. If it's injuries, Jeff, you know what I blame when it comes to injuries? I blame the roster, because you have guys that are constant. Marcus Davenport's always injured. You're re-signing him. Like, those are things. Maybe Pascal, Levi. Like, you're trusting guys who have already been injured, and you know what you're doing. And you knew that last offseason you had to go away from that, and you waited until this offseason to finally get rid of the injured guys. So I think, like, if you just connect the dots with all of it, it's the most tension and it's the most pressure that this building and this organization, this regime has had since they stepped in the building and had to go through a whole rebuild. And I don't think that's not an opinion on me or from me. That's nothing, dude. That's just a straight fact. Like, this is the most pressure that they've had since day one this offseason. So anyone under pressure or anything, there's going to be disagreements. You see it all the time. You even saw it like the last few years with like Ben Johnson and Jared, and like you've seen it with AG at times with some of the defensive guys. Like, they're yelling back and forth at each other, like, you know, little disagreements. But all right, let's figure it out. That's how I envision what's happening right now in the Lions building. Is they're trying, like, they both are very competitive people. They're trying to find a way to turn this into a Super Bowl team. And maybe they have disagreements here and there. And this might just be the most that they've ever had, which I don't think it's a bad thing at the end of the day. It's just an interesting
I don't think, again, I'm not going to say it's there's turmoil or, you know, whatever, but there definitely is disagreements. I mean, I'll look back and I'm not sure how minimal or how big the disagreements are, but I think there are disagreements. I'm not going to go as far as to say that maybe it's the whole entire offseason approach, but maybe there's some signings where Dan's like, not a huge fan, but, you know, we'll roll with it. Like, you look back at the NFC Championship game, what did Dan tell the locker room after they lost? We may never be back here, just being honest. Like, it's hard to come back here. But then you hear Brad and Dan both be like, sustained success. We're building sustained success. We're not worried. We want to build this sustainable. But then why would Dan say something like that? Because he's real with the players. He's like, dude, it's hard to get back here, man. Like, you don't get too many opportunities to make NFC Championship games. The teams that are able to do it have a lot of luck with injuries, you know, understand their window and when to be aggressive, and are constantly trying to acquire talent And, there's a lot of mix of everything, coordinators, keeping coordinators, whatever it is. So, I think Dan is more of a, he's a former player, so he understands it from that standpoint. Brad obviously did not play in the NFL. He's been a part of front offices, and, he's been with Les Snead. So I think Dan Campbell understands it just on a different level when he says things like that to the players. It's like, man, like, you don't get all these opportunities to make NFC championship games. Like, I think they believe in sustained success, but I think in his heart, I think Dan understands, like, I think he does believe, like, this windows are real, man. Like, he was with the Saints with Drew Brees all that time. Like, he understands, but not with Drew Brees, but at the end of Drew Brees. But even before that, when he was with Miami, like, he ate shit in Miami as an interim head coach, tried to do the best with what he can, got to New Orleans, and it was more of an older roster at the time, but they still had some playoff success, almost made a Super Bowl. And then, you get to the Lions and it's like, we've had success, but it's hard. And I don't know. I'm just curious. I would love to know. I wish I could be a fly on the wall and really see what things they disagree with, but we'll never know because they don't let things out. I'm not sure who the source is. For people, I'll say this though, for people saying that it's bullshit, I think the people that say it's bullshit have just as much, just as much data to back that up as people that say it's true. I don't really think you have either. You can't really just dismiss it and say it's not true because there's not really.
You don't like the person who put it out. Like, that's just not. I think that's always wrong. I mean, like, look at what happened with Jeremy Fowler and the D-Mont stuff. Everyone just dismissed it and said it's not true. It's not true. Oh, it's a lie. It's a lie. It's a lie. This is clickbait. And then guess what happened with 24 hours later? It had, it's good to put out. I think a lot of times within this fan base and especially on social media, I think a lot of people, when they don't want to hear something they don't like, they instantly be like, oh, that's clickbait. That's not real. That's fake. That's this. And it's like, no, it's actually not. I'll tell you what, a lot of these people don't put stuff out if they actually don't know it's true, especially like a report of something they've heard. They're not going to put someone's name out there, or they're not going to, it is what it is. Right. And whether you think it's a big deal or not, it's still something that's out there. Right. Like the comments already, we posted the video. There's 10 plus comments already on it. Some of the people, man, like it's actually shocking to me. Some of the people that comment on it and what they say, like people just being like, oh, Valenti's the one that said it. Oh, that's not a thing. Oh, is this bad to say this? Like, it's not bad, but it's news, right? Like, it's something that has to get put out there. And if it's real, like, this is different than I think what's happened with this front office in the past. And it's shown that they're in year 5 and they're not struggling, but it's a dip right now. And no one's really used to these guys, reports being put out there that there is a little bit of maybe tension in that building. Whether it's true or not, but like, I don't think there's any reason to think it's not true, to be honest. Just dots.
And people, like, if people want to be like, oh, of course they have differences, like they could have some differences, like, yeah, true. And think my theory on Mike Valenti, like what he meant by this, again, just my theory, I think what he was told, and maybe what the source was what information they had or the feeling they had, is not that they just have difference of opinion. When Mike Valenti says this was the first offseason that there have been definite differences of opinions on roster construction, I think they're in this weird point right now where they have some guys they want to pay, guys that they've already paid. It's like this, they're in this cap strap point of their franchise now to where they have to save some money, yada yada. Maybe there's a chance that maybe Dan wanted to free more money up by restructuring Amon-Ra or Panay and be more aggressive. And Brad was like, let's get 1-year deals and just do, like, I think it's not like, oh, they just disagree. I think this is like you said, a very specific time of this franchise where it's like pressure's on. You know what I mean? Like, They don't have as much money as they've had. I think there's if there's a time to have more tension, in my opinion, it's right now, to your point earlier.
Yeah. I mean, dude, you just missed the playoffs after being Super Bowl contenders. You were a Super Bowl favorite going into last year. You missed the playoffs. And again, you can argue that it was coaching. It was this and that. It was realistically like the number one excuse that gets thrown out there, or the number 1 and 2, is injuries and roster, right? Like, you didn't have the depth again. And I could see where maybe a Dan Campbell's frustrated in the building, like, hey, we need this, we need this, we need this. Oh, we don't have an offensive line. Why don't we have an offensive line? Why is Graham Glasgow my right guard having to play left guard and center for the last 2 seasons. Like, why is this happening? And then Graham obviously walks away because of it. Taylor Decker walks away because of it. Then on defense, you know, you have guys like Ansel walk for another deal, a cheaper deal. You know what I mean? A cheap deal, a Meek for a cheap deal, like Roy Lopez for an average deal. And you're like, all right, now I'm just losing all my guys, but you're not giving me guys, right? So maybe there's a frustration with Brad or Dan, I mean, within that. And you know what it could be too, Jeff, that no one's really brought up. I'll bring it up. It could be a situation to where who drafts these guys over the last couple of years? Brad Holmes, right? And yes, it's a team effort, but also like Brad has talked about keeping his guys in house, right? Keeping his guys, and maybe Brad is a guy this offseason, and Dan maybe. And again, this is just me trying to think about it a little bit. I don't know anything. Maybe Dan is a guy who's like, hey, I don't want to have to pay all these guys and you don't give me any depth. Like the last 2 years, I've had no depth because you're trying to save all this money, Brad. And Brad this offseason maybe is trying to be like, well, I'm going to re-sign Sam Laporta. I'm going to extend Laporta. I'm going to extend Branch. I'm going to extend Gibbs. I'm going to extend all my guys, Chad Campbell. And Dan's like, can you get me a roster? I can't win with just 8 guys. Like, can I get a full 40-man roster, please? And maybe there's a disagreement within that, because that's one of the bigger things this offseason is you have 4 guys from the 2023 draft that are eligible for extensions. And that's an interesting, like, I wonder if there's a little discourse with that, because it says roster construction, correct? That's what Valenti said.
Mm-hmm.
A big part of this roster construction is re-signing these guys and these massive deals that Brad Holmes keeps handing out.
Yeah. And again, like, could this all be bullshit? Who knows? But I think it's worth talking about.
It's a conversation to be had.
Yeah,
100%.
I think it's worth discussing, just to, just either the hypothetical or, maybe there is some truth to it, and maybe why that is. A lot of it might be tongue in cheek, but, I think people sometimes, these things happen. I mean, it just is, especially when the pressure's on. Lukas Klotz says Dan saw enough of Manu. That could be the case. Maybe Manu drove Dan off the deep end. Maybe Broderick Martin did. Who knows? I think one of those players that Dan really loved and loves, just to kind of tie into our next segment, because I wanted to ask you, out of all the departures, and I want the chat to answer this, out of all the departures this offseason, which player do you think the Lions are going to miss the most? And maybe not regret, maybe regret that they let walk, or you'll see the impact missing when the season starts. And it's hard because we don't have the draft's not here, so you don't know who they're going to draft. And I think a player that Dan really wanted back, in my opinion, is Alex Anzalone. I think that's the guy that Dan would have, if Dan would have, or Brad would have re-signed him, I think Dan would have been ecstatic. And I know Anzalone was a Dan guy. I know for a fact, and I know based on the information we saw last year, we covered it, Anzalone and Brad Holmes, they had some contract disagreements. They had a little back and forth. Remember when Doc was there? We had Doc on like the next day, but when they talked to Alex at practice at training camp, and he was like,
it was very evident.
You got to ask Brad, like, go ask Brad, like, about all the contract stuff. Like, I think Alex Anzalone, I mean, looking back, probably should have paid Anzalone instead of Derek Barnes. Just being real. I think everyone knows that at this point. Kind of seeing how things shape up, but Derek Barnes, Brad guy. He drafted him. They developed him. That's a Brad draft pick. That's his guy. And I'm not saying Dan doesn't like Derek Barnes or anything like that.
Yeah, but I think it's a very obvious thing that, hey, Anzo is a Dan guy. They came from New Orleans together, and he's built it up. And I know a lot of people are like, well, like someone in, like Tim in the chat, it was time to cut him. I mean, I don't think it was time to be like, Anzo's gone. On the deal that he got in Tampa, I think you could have got something done. It's not like he's like 40 years old playing linebacker.
And it's not a 4-year deal. It's like a 2-year deal.
It's a 2-year deal at what, $8 million? And that's like exactly what you're missing right now as an Anzo piece. And they really haven't replaced him. So I think, dude, I'm right there with you. I think that's a situation where maybe if you're talking about a little bit of a butting head situation, where like a little disagreement, you would have to think that the Anzo one is and people are putting Demo in there. I don't think Demo falls in that category, to be honest, because Dan was calling plays last year. And Dan talked about Demo very, very highly throughout that stretch. But he also had the options he was literally controlling the offense.
I think they're talking about a departure will miss is what I think maybe that's what they're putting him in there, which actually I agree.
Yeah, I agree. I agree, but I think I thought, my bad. I thought they were talking about a Dan guy, and I don't think Dan. That's one where Dan's probably pounding the table because
like you said,
Dan could have given him the
used
snaps, and the reason Demo left, it wasn't because they wanted to get rid of him. It was because Demo asked out. Like Demo wanted another opportunity somewhere, and and everyone knows that now. So that's not one of those hidden secrets. I don't think. I think the Demo situation is very well known.
Yeah, I think Anzo's definitely up there, and honestly, I think Demo's a really good one. And the reason why I'm saying it is because I think David Montgomery, his impact, you didn't get to see a lot of it last year because, like you said, he wasn't utilized. But I think this year, we don't know what Isaiah Pacheco we're getting, but I know for a fact they're not going to have the same backfield. I mean, Dave Montgomery's a top 12 back in the league. I mean, you had two guys in the top 12, 13, whatever you want to put them in your backfield. And they were so different and they complement each other so well that, again, you're naive if you don't think they're going to miss David Montgomery. Obviously, they wanted to keep him. Clearly, it's not like the Lions did anything wrong there. I mean, you could argue they didn't utilize him enough, but at the same time, it just had happened. He outgrowed Detroit and he wanted to get his start somewhere, and he did. So it's it was always going to work out that way. And I know people like Lukas Klotz in the chat, and you might even feel like this as well, Boone, like, Jahmyr Gibbs is ready to take over that role and kind of be the dominant 1A guy who gets a lot of those carries. Like, I think we're going to be in the season and be like, man, like we miss the impact David had when it comes to wearing down defenses. And I think that's going to be evident as the season goes on. And just him in the locker room. He's a good dude. He's a good dude to have in the locker room. But I just know David brought a physicality that was just consistent week to week. You just knew every week defenses are like, oh my God, we got to tackle this dude. Yeah. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like fourth quarter, this dude's going to get the rock and it's going to suck. I think they're going to miss that this year. So Anzalone and Demon are two guys that I think are the biggest misses. Not misses as it whatever. Well, misses for Anzo, but they're going to miss them the most.
And while we're playing the game of who wanted what player, Brad or Dan, the Taylor Decker stuff. Remember what Dan said? And I'm pretty sure it was Dan that said it. I think it was Dan. Man, tell me if I'm wrong, Jeff, but one of those guys said whether Taylor decides to stay or leave, we still have to bring someone in. Like we still have to.
Dan.
I think Dan said that. So I wonder if there was a world where Dan was like, we need to replace Taylor Decker.
That's a good
point. And Brad was trying to keep him. And Brad was trying to do everything to keep him. And that's where Taylor was like, I was shocked when I came in and to hear what I was, and I wonder if Dan was just finally like, hey, like, Brad, we need a new left tackle. Like Taylor is getting old. Doesn't even matter about the contract, but we need a new left tackle. Like we need to get better at I wonder if Dan just went into this offseason like pounding the table about offensive line and was just like, dude, we need an O-line like now.
Or maybe there's a scenario where Dan wanted another offensive lineman, but maybe he wasn't mad at maybe Decker staying there as like a security option. Like he's there.
Again,
I don't know.
I'm just sorry. I just want to say this. Dan also said we're good. I said this at the beginning of the whole conversation we're having now.
He did say we're good.
He did, but again, let's go back to 8:15 when we started this whole conversation. Dan will always go into the media and say we're good. He will always go into the media. Yeah. He will never go in the media and be like, we need a better roster. We need better players. We need this. He will always 100% of the time. And if you don't know this by now, when Dan Campbell is the head coach of the Detroit Lions, then you need to go back and watch all his prep. He will always go out there and put a face on and say,
yeah, that's
true. It falls on me. I need to make sure this team is better. He'll never call out a player. He'll never call out Brad. He will always say, we're good to go. I need to be better and I need to have this roster better.
He's a team guy.
Yes. And he never publicly would ever go out and call a player or anyone out. He will always take the blame and he will always say, we're good to go. That's why I started this whole conversation with, well, Dan always seems to be good with Brad. Well, yeah, no, Dan's good with everyone. He's the leader of the organization at the end of the day. Like, he is the face of the organization. So Dan would never. But behind the scenes, now that's where none of us really know. And that's where you have to sit there and be like, you can't say Valenti's wrong, because it's a human instinct to actually butt heads with people. It is. Whether you're best friends or, your coworkers for 30, 40 years, like, at some point, there's going to be a little bit of a tension and you're going to disagree on something.
Yeah.
Whether you show it publicly or not.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So
especially billion-dollar companies that you're trying to win a Super Bowl.
By the way, I don't know. I forgot to read this. I forgot what the comment. What Terrell
it was about the Pistons.
The $2 though.
Yeah, I remember. It was about the Pistons.
Oh, it was okay. Appreciate.
I have the same energy with every team, to be honest. So I'm not too worried. Shout out Terrell.
Austin says Demo. Easy says BB. That's actually, I mean, if we're talking just injured guys, yeah. I mean, they're going to miss prime BB. Not prime, feel bad saying prime, but healthy BB. They're definitely going to miss him, man. A Green, he says David, Anzo. I'll tell you this, like Anzo, like Derek Barnes, we're about to find out. Like Derek Barnes, like.
I'm worried, to be honest. I mean, I'll call a spade a spade. I'm worried.
Dude, like, I just don't know really. I don't know where. He's not a bad player. He just does everything. He does everything okay. Like, he's just like he doesn't, you know what I'm saying? Does that make sense? Like, he doesn't,
it makes
exceptional level. Like, he's not an elite cover guy or elite blitzer, or like, he's just like, Campbell is an elite. He can do things elite. You know what I mean? Like, Anzo can cover. You know what I'm saying? Like, those two guys can do different things. Derek, is he ready to step into that Anzo role? Or maybe the Jack role and Jack steps into the Anzo role, like they move over? I don't know.
I think Colton on your show, your Wednesday night show, said it best, where it just or Derek Barnes, he kind of what you say, he's not elite at anything, he's just good, right? And that's the guy right now that you're looking at moving around and being kind of your Swiss Army knife. And you shouldn't feel that comfortable with that. And it's not even a shout out Derek Barnes. It's just what it is. And it has nothing to do with the money of him. It has nothing to do with, it's just more so like Anzo is now gone. Now you have to, he's just the second best linebacker in that room right now. So I think they still need to go out and get another linebacker.
I mean, dude, he was graded as the 41st linebacker out of 88 on PFF, which, by the way, you don't want to listen to PFF, fine, but he was the 43rd out of 88 linebacker in coverage. And if you look through his career, like 2024, he had he was injured actually. 2023, he was 71st out of 83, and then 2022, he was 70 out of 84 in coverage, and then he was dead last in his rookie year. So it's like this isn't a guy that has shown he can cover guys. You know what I'm saying? Like, he couldn't get home when he was blitzing. They tried using him as remember they used him on the edge and he wasn't really doing anything. I'm concerned. Like Anzo, say it, you can call him old or whatever, but Anzo can do, like, he can cover. Him and Jack were like a great pairing together. Like, that's one thing you can always say about this Lions defense. They couldn't, their pass defense was bad and, whatever, but you knew those linebackers were coming to play. Like, you knew those guys, those two, you knew Anzo and Jack, when healthy, were handling business in the middle. Like, those guys were a part of a very good run defense. This year, these running backs are getting to the second level. So of course they're going to give up 4 carry, because your defensive line wasn't stopping anybody behind the line of scrimmage and they weren't getting any stops. But yeah, like I'm concerned about Anzo leaving. Like, I think there's one on offense, one on defense, Demo and Anzo. I think they're going to really miss, truly. Like Decker, I think what they're going to miss with Decker, to be honest, is just like a veteran presence at tackle. I think they can get similar skill. They can get a guy in the draft that has a similar skill set. But you know what I'm worried about, though, if I'm being real? No matter what rookie you draft, they're going to have lumps. And that's what people have to be ready for.
Yeah, I think it's the greatest example for that, real quick, is just the Jack Campbell. You drafted him 18th overall, and he had lumps his freshman year. His rookie year.
Same.
Well, remember who also played his rookie year was Malcolm Rodriguez, because he was kind of still figuring out where he could fit in. He played the Sam position as well a lot. Jack did.
Yeah, he did,
because they weren't able to fill him in right away yet, and they were still kind of just slowly getting him in, and he was learning. That was a first-round draft pick linebacker. That was the best linebacker in that draft class. So if that puts into context, I know a lot of people are like, draft a linebacker this year, which I agree. But I think it's crazy to think you can draft a linebacker to just take over that Enzo role in year one. Like, I don't think that's realistic. That's why I haven't really brought up, that's why I just keep bringing up you need to sign another linebacker. It's not. It's because of that.
True.
I don't think you can draft one and expect him to fill in right away.
It's true. Like, I mean, Nick Pieces-Barnes is a run stopper and pass rush option. Coverage, nope. I mean, I wouldn't honestly, like, I don't even think he's a pass rush option. He was rated out of 88 linebackers this year, 88 qualified linebackers. He was 73rd in pass rush, his pass rush grade. Like, he had how many pressures on the year? That's
your Sam. That's like blitzing a lot.
Yeah, and a lot of the pressures he had, like a lot of the sacks he had were kind of like cleanup sacks, which is fine, but it's not like this guy is like, like he can blitz and get you like Nick Bonito numbers or something. I don't know. I'm bringing him up, but it's probably a terrible example. But you get my point. Like, it's not like he's shown like this guy off the edge is a problem, So and he also is a Calvin Shepard guy. He also is. I know someone put that in the chat. He is a big Calvin Shepard. I think he advocated for him, Derek Barnes. He did. And I got no beef with Derek Barnes. I'm just keeping it real. Like, Enzo at this point in time, even though he's a little older, I'm with you. They gotta address linebacker.
Shep was like, I can't have this defense without Derek Barnes. And that was why he got that.
Now we know, because they want to run a base defense and have three linebackers. Now it makes sense. So
it's kind of crazy to think, looking back at it now.
Yeah.
So how'd that work out for us?
Yeah, I mean, this linebacker crew right now, you got Derek Barnes, Jack Campbell, Damone Clark, and Malcolm Rodriguez, and Trevor Nowatzki.
Shout out Trevor. When Trevor resigned, by the way, I thought more people were higher on Trevor. A lot of people.
I'll tell you what, I'll take Trevor Nowatzki over Damone Clark.
Me too.
I'm going to be honest, like, Trevor Nowatzki, and I know, if we're being honest, like, I think Trevor Nowatzki's closer to Malcolm Rodriguez than Damone Clark is.
Trevor Nowatzki was making plays when his numbers called. He makes plays.
Yeah,
people just seem to forget about it.
Two sacks and a pick in like limited snaps. I mean, he wasn't terrible. He wasn't terrible. He's good depth. I like Trevor Nowatzki. He's not, I wouldn't say like this linebacker crew is kind of they better, if let's say they don't address linebacker, let's just say they roll in with what they got. Fine. They better not run base again. I love Malcolm. I'm happy he got to get under contract.
Yeah, they're going to.
If they run base with these linebackers, it's a disaster. Like they
there's no question that they are. Shep
they better get Anthony Hill or Kyle Lewis.
Did you not hear the clips from the press conference at the combine with Shep, where he's like, "I'm not going to change just because other people in the league are."
You better.
That's actually how in my opinion, from what I've heard, and listen, Shep's played in the league, he's coached. I don't know more than him, but from what I've heard and what we hear all the time is from coaches. By the way, this isn't just me saying this; I've heard this from fans, from coaches. When an offense starts running something like the league is essentially like this when it comes to schemes, when an offense changes something, the defense always changes to adjust against that offense. And that goes on for a few years. And then when the offense finally catches on, that's why you see like the 13 personnel going on right now. That's why in the past, people are always talking about like, the league is a way more, passing league now than it was a running league. No, I bet you give it a couple more years, it's going to turn back into a running league for a little bit. And then it's going to get back to passing. It's because the defenses are going to constantly keep adjusting back and forth. And it's a what is it? A cat and a mouse game, right? Like,
copycat league. I mean, look at the Lions. They had 2 running backs. Everybody's got 2 running backs now.
And if you're not willing to adjust, you're probably not going to be great. That's just how I look at it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, Ben Johnson put it so well at the combine when we were talking to him. When he was speaking to the media, we weren't talking to him, but when he was speaking to the media and we were listening, he put it so well. He's like, well, teams are.
I was like, what are you talking? What did we talk? Have you ever seen
breaking news? I actually talked to Ben Johnson personally.
Yeah. What's that movie with the dude from Jackass? They had like the Special Olympics and stuff. Have you ever seen that movie? People will know it in the chat, but in the movie that he takes one of the girls, like the chaperone or whatever, out to date or a dinner, and they get back and he's like, I was just taking them to get ice cream, and the one kid in the back goes, when did we get ice cream? He had no clue. That's how I felt when you just said that. You're like, Ben. Oh, when I talked to Ben,
actually,
Johnson,
when Ben pulled me over and thanked me for all my work this past season,
the Ringer,
promoting the Bears. No, but he was saying, he's like, the league's going, they're running more nickel, more DBs, so the league, like you said, is going bigger. They're going tight ends, 13 personnel, and then Shepard's over here like, no, we're gonna stick with base defense. But the problem is like the best. And this is why the Seattle Seahawks were able to do it so well, is what you need a safety that can be a linebacker and a nickel and a safety for you, like a hybrid. You need like a Kyle Lewis. I mean, literally, he would be perfect for this type of, maybe he's not as athletic or a freak like Nick Amanawari, but Nick Amanawari can do that. Nick's like a freak.
Oh, maybe not Bud Clark.
But like they need a Branch. And by the way, now Branch is that. You know what I'm saying? Branch is that. They literally have that in Brian Branch, or I know he's hurt, but they had that in Brian Branch. And guess what Shep says? Guess what Shep says about Brian Branch? Shuts down all that. He goes, he's a safety. He's a safety. He's a safety. That's what he said before he got hurt. This is like, and after, even after.
He's one of the best safeties in the league.
But it's like, no, you could really use Brian like in very different ways. Like you can move that man around and use him in different ways. Even though he says that, but he also, Branch actually lined up in a lot of different places last year. So I think he says that, but he actually uses them differently. But
does it feel like sometimes a little hard-headed? Like I don't want, like I got my ways and we're not like,
it's like coach speak. It's like he says one thing and then they do another thing. It's like, it's all like, I don't know. It doesn't really make sense. It's weird how that works. Because Brian Branch lined up last year. I think last year, if I'm not mistaken, I think he lined up
outside.
Yeah.
He lined up a lot. He was very versatile last year when they needed him. I do think it's weird where it's like, oh, he's a safety. Like he's one of the best safeties in the league. It's like, he's also one of the best like nickels in this league. If you put him at nickel, and why is that a bad thing? By the way, if he's your nickel for a whole season and he's the best in the league at it, like the Eagles had Cooper DeJean and nickel for 2 years, and they won a Super Bowl with him making plays at the nickel. He was first team All Pro. In the slot there, and it's like actually a really good thing. It's you have a guy that can stop can at the line of scrimmage can stop the run, but also can go down and go out in coverage, can guard someone one-on-one, can guard a tight end. Can sack quarterbacks, can cover a tight end, can cover a running back out of the backfield, can cover a slot receiver, like can do everything. Yeah. And then also, guess what? If you get out of that package, guess what you do? You just move him back to safety. And you know what I mean? Like you make that move, you take whoever that other safety is out. And you keep Brian on it. Because I remember his rookie year, that was a question everyone was talking about. Like, we'll look at his snap count because he's only playing nickel. And then when they get into base, he's not on the field as much. It's like, all right, just throw that man back at safety when you move to base. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't need to – if that's what it is, if he's your best player, don't take him off the field.
Now, I want to get to this Fox Sports article you sent me. This is actually really good. This is it.
I saw it. I purposely did not want to look at it because I wanted us to react to this live on the show with the people because I'm interested to see what they have for the Lions. It looks like, and we can do all of them too if we want.
Yeah, no, we'll go through the whole NFC North because this is interesting. So basically what the article is, Fox Sports has they list out all the teams. They do it by division, but they list all the additions, all the losses, what players the team retained, and then they come up with a verdict. Did they get worse or get better? It's that simple. So first we'll start off. I'll show you what they said about the Bears. Then we'll get to the Lions and we'll look at the NFC North. We question, what's the division look like? Well, this is what Fox Sports thinks. So the NFC North, they have here their key additions, Kobe Bryant, which I really like Kobe Bryant. I think he's a
great addition. He was on the Kay Adams show, I think.
Devin Bush, they added Garrett Bradbury, which is a downgrade from Drew Dahlman, but whatever. They got Khalif Raymond and Neville Gallimore. I don't know who that is. So, whatever. Key losses, DJ Moore, Neville. They traded Tremaine Edmonds, they released. Kevin Byard left, which I'm surprised, actually. Kevin Byard left. I feel like he was really productive for them.
The money, maybe?
maybe the money, maybe it had something to do with it. Nashawn Wright left, CJ Gardner-Johnson, they lost both their safeties. Jaquan Brisker left, and then Drew Dahlman retired, and then they retained Braxton Jones, their left tackle. And the verdict they got is worse, which I agree. I think the Bears got worse, if I'm being honest. Like they lost.
I think they did. I think they got good players. Like Kobe Bryant's a good safety in the league. You just saw him win a Super Bowl. Devin Bush had his best career year, I think, with the Browns. He was with the Browns, correct? Still last year?
Yeah, he was with the Browns.
I think he had his best. I think he had his best season, of his career, with Cleveland. Garrett Bradbury. Listen, I think when you lose Drew Dahlman, there were options out there, but Garrett Bradbury, who just started, during a Super Bowl season, I don't think is like it's obviously a downgrade, but not the worst replacement. But when you lose, DJ Moore, and you replace DJ Moore with a Khalif Raymond, and like a Tremaine Edmonds is good, but obviously Devin Bush, but like you lose both of your starting safeties essentially, and CJ Gardner-Johnson too. He was playing, felt like significant snaps.
No, he wasn't bad for them. No, he wasn't
the playoffs. So you essentially lost 3 safeties that were big for you, and you only brought in Kobe Bryant. I could see why that's a loss. The other positions maybe not as much, but wide receiver in the safety room, I could see.
Where did Tremaine? Do you know where Tremaine Edmonds went?
I don't.
The Giants. That's where he went.
Wow, good for the Giants are putting together
a
heck of an offseason.
He was good last year for them, dude. He had 4 picks last year.
Tremaine Edmonds is a good linebacker, man. He's good.
Yeah, he's a good player, and they replaced him with Devin Bush, which we'll see. Like if Devin Bush can do it again, that's not bad. But I agree with this. I think the Bears, I think
if anything, I would just say average, like just an average offseason for them.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I don't think they take a big step forward at all.
And then next is the Green Bay Packers. So you have here additions. They added Hargrave from the Vikings, actually. Zaire Franklin, which is that was a good trade. Sky Moore as a returner. They lost Elgin Jenkins, Malik Willis, Romeo Dobbs, Rashawn Gary, Quay Walker, Rasheed Walker.
If I had to say anything, what are the options again?
What do you mean, like the 2 verdicts?
Yeah.
It's just what is it? It's worse or better? I mean, that's really all it is.
I think the Packers got worse. I think the Zaire Franklin is a heck of a pickup, dude.
I think it's a really good pickup for them.
I think that's such a good whoever and you know me, I'm a Zaire guy. I said Zaire like last year is a household name, and
he's a machine. He really is. He's a machine.
But in 2024, he led the NFL in tackles, all pro. Last year, a little bit of a down year, but it wasn't. I think he was dealing with injuries last year, if I remember. I could be wrong with that, but I still think Zaire Franklin's a heck of a pickup. They just lost so much, though. They lost 2 offensive linemen. Romeo Dobbs, a good receiver for them, and Rashawn Gary.
Rashawn Gary's a big one, I think, too.
And Quay. And I know they replaced Quay with Zaire, but then you like Rashawn, like that's, and 2 offensive linemen. They got worse.
Yeah, I agree. I think they got worse too. I think they just lost. They lost some offensive line depth and starters, and they lost Rashawn Gary, which I think is a big one. Like the thing that made the Packers scary was Rashawn Gary and Micah. I think Micah's still scary, but them 2 together was scary. Yeah. Like Rashawn Gary leaving is kind of massive. I mean, who they got? Lucas Van Ness. I mean, I don't know who the hell they got
with a K.
With a K,
and we know how those Lucases are with a K, man.
All bark, no bite. That's how all those Lucases with a K are, man.
Those Lucases with Ks, man.
So Rashawn Gary's a big one. So yeah, and they said worse. So there we go.
Right, 2 for 2.
The next one is the Minnesota Vikings. Key additions: Kyler Murray, and then the key losses: Jalen Naylor and Javon Hargrave. I thought they lost their other. Defense, Jonathan Allen. Or no,
they did. I don't think so. Must still be a free agent, so they didn't throw him.
Oh yeah, he went to the Bengals. They lost him too. They lost.
I think the Vikings got worse. I mean, you could say quarterback better. They did nothing. I didn't realize how little they did.
Yeah, they really didn't do anything. They just added Kyler Murray. Which
I don't know if Kyler Murray's like a needle mover. I think it's just whatever. Like it's just like okay, like. Typically, I would say if they brought a starting quarterback in over JJ, I'd be like, yep, they're going to win games because of Kevin O'Connell. The only thing with Kyler is Kevin O'Connell's never used a mobile quarterback or an athletic kind of quarterback like Kyler Murray. So no one knows. It's like the biggest question mark. And Kyler, I'm surprised Klotz had the take he did because Kyler kind of made his guy worse. His wide receiver. Who was that wide receiver that he loved? Marvin Harrison Jr.
Marvin Harrison.
Like,
yeah, dude.
He did nothing for Marvin Harrison Jr.
No one on that team ate until Jacoby stepped in.
Yeah. So I'm not going to sit here and say they got better or anything with Kyler. I'm going to say they got worse. And the verdict's still out for Kyler Murray.
I don't think I think Minnesota went 9-8. And I think people are looking at that as like, well, they're 9-8 with JJ. Kyler, they're going to be better. I think 9-8 was because of the coaching job of Kevin O'Connell and Brian Flores, obviously. But to say they're just going to improve as like it's linear, they're just going to win 11, 12 games this year is could they be more competitive? Yeah. But like Kyler Murray is not a game breaker. I
don't know why people think Kyler all of a sudden is like, he's going to make the right decisions. He's going to make the right throws. He's going to be able to. I think that's the thing in a Kevin O'Connell offense, especially with Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison and TJ Hawkinson. Like you have to make the right decisions to get the ball to those guys.
I think TJ Hawkinson will eat probably.
Yeah.
But I'm not drafting Justin Jefferson this year. No way. In fantasy.
Kyler struggled getting the ball to receivers. Like he just has. He's one of those guys, Jeff. And I think me and you actually talked about this with Kyler before. He hangs on to the ball and he just like loves to run around and he loves to extend plays, but will do nothing to it like after extending them. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I imagine Kyler doing is just running like 400 yards on one play, sideline to sideline, and then like throwing the ball away or like, being inaccurate and throwing the ball behind someone. And it's
is he gonna push the ball downfield to Jordan Addison? No.
He's smart enough to make the right decisions. We haven't seen that out of him, in my opinion, in the NFL. Just haven't.
I'm not scared of Kyler Murray. I'm just not. And people can disagree with that. And they got better. Well, I guess it's fair because they upgraded quarterback, but I don't think they got better, man. Yeah, I don't think it's that big of a deal. Like I think Kyler's better than JJ, but I think that just speaks to how bad their quarterback position was last year. I don't think.
Would you be shocked if JJ like ends up winning that spot? Because they did say that like Kyler's not guaranteed to start. That it's an open.
They also re-signed Carson Wentz.
I saw that too.
Carson Wentz back, which like we'll see what happens there. But yeah, like I don't know. I think JJ will get better. I don't think I think he's got talent, and I think if JJ gets to the point where he's what they believe he can get to, like he is no doubt more talented than Kyler Murray, bro. Like he is more talented. He has a better arm. He'll push the ball downfield. Yep. You know what I'm saying? Like he's mobile. It's just he makes boneheaded mistakes. He's made a lot of boneheaded mistakes, but if he can cut some of those out, like he's got more talent than Kyler Murray, dude. He does. Like, yeah, that's just what I think. The Lions here, they have their this is I guess the first time I'm seeing it all listed. Key additions: Cade Mays, Larry Borum, Isaiah Pacheco, Roger McCreary. Yeah, you got to add on here. I mean, DJ Wanham, Christian Izian. I mean,
Greg Dortch.
Yeah, Greg Dortch is on here as well.
Malcolm Rodriguez under retained.
Yeah, David Montgomery lost. Alexander Zaloni lost. Amik Robertson, Roy Lopez, Al-Qadim Muhammad, and Khalif Raymond. Retained Rocky Sin. Yeah, you got to add more on there with retained. But what they wrote here is Lions offensive line remains under construction. Isaiah Pacheco is also a downgrade from Dave Montgomery at the RB2 spot behind Jahmyr Gibbs. So I guess those 2 points are fair. Like the offensive line still is under construction, and Isaiah Pacheco is a downgrade. So they think they got worse, which, I mean, as of right now, they got better at center and they got better at nickel, but they got worse at linebacker. Edge, I think DJ Wanham could be better than Al-Qadim Muhammad. So but they still need more at edge. So it's like hard to say right now. It's like incomplete right now. I don't love it, but you got to see how they look in a couple months. I mean, it's hard to really. I don't think they got better, as in like, yeah, Lions improved dramatically or anything like that. Just like a lot of it's scratch, in my opinion. Like they got worse at RB2, and they got
I would
worse
put it in the middle right now. And I think by the time the draft comes by, I think in the next couple of weeks, there's more free agents that come in, and obviously they're missing a lot on here. And then I also do believe, like when the draft comes around, I think by the end of the offseason, I think you could have an argument that this Lions roster got better. I don't look at it just as starters, by the way, Jeff. I you know me this offseason. It's been not a 22
guys.
Look at
the depth they're adding and stuff like that.
That's, I think, the most important thing about this offseason is like, can you get on both sides of the ball 15 to 20 guys that can play football for you instead of just 5 stars on each side and then just bums the rest of the way around.
I think those are the positions. I think Ryan nailed it. Tackle, linebacker, edge that they got to get better at. I mean, that's pretty important positions. I mean,
for sure. By the end of the draft, if they free agents and the draft fill those spots, I'm all in.
I hate the rookie. I know Neil used to say that, the rookie parlay. Like, you're banking on a rookie parlay. The Lions are in a position you're kind of banking on a rookie parlay. Like, you kind of need a good left tackle, a good edge. I hate it.
We had this conversation last year. It was like, if you have to rely on a rookie to come in and win a Super Bowl, you're not in the spot yet. Like, you have to wait another.
You're already at a disadvantage. I mean, that's just how it is. Let's bring in our good friend here to talk about the Cade Cunningham news. So Cade, this morning woke up pissed off, see he has a collapsed lung. So we're going to bring in Shawn Murphy to kind of give us some insight, talk about the Pistons, NBA championship odds, confidence in what they're going to do. So please welcome and host of From Half Court, covers the Detroit Pistons, our good friend Shawn Murphy. Shawn, how we doing?
Jeff, Boone, what's going on, guys? Good to see you. A rough day, obviously. Going to talk all about The Bachelorette being canceled this season. No, in all seriousness, obviously some really rough Cade news that dropped today, and just hope he's okay first and foremost, because a collapsed lung, when you hear that, that's scary stuff. That goes beyond sports. That's real life impact.
Hey, by the way, too, you just brought The Bachelorette up. I told you one of my friends I went to college with is in one of those Netflix dating shows that just came out.
Okay.
I was just shocked. I was like, wait a sec. And then it's mind blowing. You see all these like Love is Blind and stuff, and you're just like, oh, these fake people.
Right.
And
you're
I'm
like, wait,
wait a
they
second.
put real people in these?
Yeah. My friend posted on Instagram before it dropped. It was like, this is where I've been. And I was like, wait, what? And then I started watching it. I'm like, this is him. Like, this is crazy. This is real.
Yeah.
Nuts.
Boone's application got lost. His submission, he got lost in the weaves. I mean, Boone should be on one of those shows, man.
What was it? What's it? What's it called, Jeff? Someone said what
match.
show?
Is it what it is?
No, not Perfect Match. It's I don't remember. Age of Attraction or something like that. It literally just came. Yeah. It's like season 1. It just came out on Netflix this last week.
Wow, Boone, don't know your dating shows much. Jeez.
No, I don't. I know my friend. Shout out my friend. Shout out Logan, man. He might be watching. He has the last few years tuned in, so he might be watching. But I watched. I wouldn't have watched it, but he was on it, so I was like, I gotta show support.
Boone.
All right. Let's talk about Cade. Come on.
Let me just start off with the most important question here. Okay, so.
Mm-hmm.
You're up this morning, you get the notification. Obviously, well, actually, let's rewind. So last night he gets injured. We were live when it happened, and people are like, it looked like maybe he had a back issue. It didn't look as bad at last night, the way he handled it. I don't know if he's just tough as nails or what, but people didn't really know what it was. I saw Kevin O'Connor's tweet with like the timeline of different guys, but when you see that, number one, what was your reaction to it? And because me and Booner were talking about it earlier, like when we saw the news, we're like, we're cooked. Like it's over. But then you start kind of reading more information. So what have you gathered now that you've had a whole day to kind of dive into it with this Cade stuff? And what's your concern level for the rest of the season and et cetera?
Yeah. I mean, my initial gut reaction was, does he play again this season? And then as you see, kind of the prognosis come out and, as you get more information, see more of the timelines, it's pretty clear, that there's still a really good chance for Cade to be able to return. It just depends on his recovery. A lot of it also, like when you look, we've all done more research on collapsed lungs today than we'll do in our entire lives. But
yes,
like there's essentially like one of the big factors is whether or not he broke a rib with the collapsed lung, because that generally coincides a lot, which, that adds more time to the recovery, which it sounds like, thankfully, that was not the case here. Sometimes it's treated with like a needle. Sometimes they put like a tube in someone's chest, which can, prolong it. All of it to say is the road to recovery still isn't 100% certain. Vinny Goodwill went on NBA Today, and, it sounds like the Pistons are hopeful that he could potentially be back for round 1 of the playoffs, and that he'll be doing some, like the goal would be for him to doing some, non-contact conditioning about like a week or two beforehand. And to me, like the concern level, it's definitely not low. Like when you talk about, like more than likely, I think we'll still be able to see Cade Cunningham pretty close to full strength. But The question is how much, and, like, where will the conditioning be? Because you can only do so much coming off of something like a collapsed lung. And so, it's a really tough blow because, I mean, he is someone, you look at a lot of the other teams like Boston, like they're able to weather a Jason Tatum being out because you have Jaylen Brown, as your duo who can do a lot of, similar things. And yeah, the Pistons have gotten awesome play from Jalen Duren of late. He's been phenomenal since the All-Star break, but we know very well if this team's going up against the elite, they're not going to be able to do much if they don't have their number one guy there. So the hope would be that, that your first round matchup is more favorable. You would hope that you wouldn't really have to lean on him as much during that series, because he's going to be leaned on very heavily if they get to the conference finals or if they get deeper into the postseason, because even, not just from like the shooting standpoint, but he's one of, if not the league leader in assists. He's someone who, he doesn't just bring home the groceries. He sets the table too, So I definitely think that the concern level has to be real, and coupled with the fact that, the Pistons already were kind of struggling, ever since the All-Star break. When you talk about the consistency of their play on the defensive side of the court, teams kind of figuring out what they like to do offensively and really starting to blitz Cade and, like dare them to become a shooting team, which, as we've seen time and time again, this team's just not equipped to win, to win at the highest level as a shooting team. So, if I'm being honest, I already over the last couple of weeks was shifting my expectations to, let's advance in the postseason. Let's see how far they can get. And then we can go from there, because, it's just, even, especially with an injury like this, it's just difficult to imagine them being able to reach their absolute apex top level of basketball with all of the things that are stacked up at the moment.
What do you think? Like, what's your confidence level, Shawn? Because I had some people push back at me today because I just felt like over the last few weeks, obviously, I think it's known that their play has gone down a little bit from earlier in the season. And then obviously you have the Stu injury right now. You have the Cade collapsed lung. And it feels like things are kind of, I'm not going to say fully dwindling down, because obviously you still have everything in front of you if these guys get healthy. But even healthy, it feels like maybe there's a little bit less of a feeling that this team could go win an NBA championship. Are you in that boat where you still feel like they can compete for that? Or it's like, all right, they've had a hell of a season. Let's see how far we get in the playoffs, but let's not expect, a run from this team at this point anymore. Like, where do you stand on that? Am I in the wrong for switch? I was like on this show, the guy pounding the table saying this team can win an NBA championship. Maybe I was ahead of myself, and they never were there. But now I've kind of switched sides, saying, hey, like, sometimes too much is too much. Feels like we're at that point right now.
Yeah, I always think it was going to be a tall task to ask this team to win a championship, just because, there's still a lot of the experience that they need to gain, in the playoffs and being able to play in those deep postseason games. And on top of that, just as the season's gone on, I think the Thunder and the Spurs have pretty clearly separated themselves as the two best teams in basketball. And I think they both would have just presented some pretty difficult matchups for this team. But I think one of the concerns that's like very real is going to be like when you get to the postseason, like the ability to create your own shot when you go up against the Boston Celtics, who Jason Tatum looks a lot better already than I think a lot of us envisioned he would. The New York Knicks, even though, defensively, they're certainly a shell of what even they were last season. We know they can piece it together, well enough for postseason play. And we know that they have a litany of guys, who can create their own offense and make shots. And then, Cleveland, that's just, like they have no idea really what to expect. Their ceiling is really high, but they said a couple of weeks ago that they feel like that there were the reports that they feel like that they match up well with the Pistons. So, I think, and I've been kind of using this example. This is starting to kind of feel more like the Oklahoma City Thunder from not last season, but 2 years ago, the season before they won the championship, where they made it into the second round, had that close series against the Mavericks where they didn't make it to the conference finals. They went into the summer knowing where they needed to adjust and like what holes they needed to fill so that they could be in that position to go and win the championship the next year. I think it's pretty clear the way things are shaping up in the East right now that the Pistons want to be back in this spot next year. They are going to have to make some moves. They are going to have to solidify, the top of their team and the rotation, because teams like the Pacers are going to be right back ready to go. If they get a top 3 pick at a guy like an AJ DeBonza or a Cam Boozer to their team, that immediately, becomes a threat to go back to the finals. Jason Tatum having a summer to get back healthy, and the Celtics clearly seeing like they already have a lot of what they need to be one of the best teams in basketball. And then the Knicks, like if they don't make the finals this year, like expect very aggressive, very desperate moves, because James Dolan, the owner of the Knicks, has come out and said vocally he expects a championship. And if that doesn't happen, there's the Giannis domino that's still out there looming and falling. So like all that to say, that's not even getting to Orlando, who knows they need to be better. Atlanta, who's on this really like on an 11-game winning streak. And then, you talk about all the other teams in the East, like the Hornets that are rising up. Like this is suddenly going to be a very, competitive conference again next year. So, I think the Pistons obviously, I don't think this injury or everything that's going on down like the second half of the season should cloud the fact that this has been a phenomenal season. I mean, they literally just got their first 50-win season since 2007, 2008 tonight. So that's a significant accomplishment. But when talking about like how truly deep they can make it, I just think there is an inherent cap with where this team's at without that shot creation, alongside Cade.
Well, just talking about the next month, looking at some players. I know Dennis Jenkins got the start tonight, but just going forward in the next month, Shawn, who are some players or a player that that has to step up in order to keep this Pistons team afloat for the regular season, to kind of keep that 1 seed? Who are some guys that need to step up?
Yeah, I think it's going to be, Jalen Duren has been, phenomenal. Before the All-Star break, he only had 2 30-point games the entire season. He's already had 3 since the All-Star break coming back. He's averaging 23.5 points and 11 boards. So, like you definitely need that offensive production, to maintain itself. But you also, you look at guys, like Tobias Harris has been called, the security blanket by JB for the last couple of years. And this is a situation where he's going to have to wrap himself in that blanket as much as he has since coaching the team. But also I look at guys, when you look at like rotation players off the bench, I know a guy like Karis LeVert gets a lot of attention, but to me, I'm looking at guys like Marcus Sasser and Kevin Huerter, because they're 2 guys that have been highlighted as guys who can space the floor, guys who can potentially create offense, guys who can potentially plug some of those gaps. And, since they've entered the rotation as of yesterday, Sasser's been averaging about 7.5 points. He's shooting almost 47% from 3, but 24% from 2. And then Kevin Huerter has been around the same, points wise. He's been shooting 22% from 3 and 62% from 2. So if you combine that together, you have an awesome player off the bench.
How do you feel about the Kevin Huerter thing too? I mean, how is that aged? Where are we at with Kevin Huerter?
I mean, overall, like I still think moving off, Jaden Ivey was the right decision for him, right, and for the organization. Kevin Huerter, like the more he plays, like he is a smart basketball player. He is a good finisher around the rim. The problem is the Pistons already have plenty of good finishers around the rim, and they were relying on his shooting to potentially get better in Detroit. That just hasn't been the case thus far. Like he's a guy who plays good basketball. The shots just aren't falling. And, like that's just what it comes down to. Like he in theory presents like the threat of shooting, but that's kind of like where like Kevin Huerter's like almost right now, he's a better theory than he is in practice. So, there's still time for him to get comfortable and for things to potentially get better. Again, I still think, he has played better as games have gone on. There are aspects of his game where he does positively contribute. It's just, if the shot isn't falling, there's not a lot of things he does very differently than other guys on that bench.
Hey, Shawn, I just want to get your thought on this now that, 50 wins in the season. And I think of the years past, we've had you on for years now, and we've had the conversation about Trajan Langdon's off seasons and how he approaches them. Do you think now, like, we're fair to say that this off season's now, like, it starts to turn into more aggressive and like winning off seasons going forward? Like, is it known? You're the number 1 team in the East, and you're sitting here with 50 wins. it feels like there's no more like sitting back. And then especially when you see, you know, I'm not going to say a collapse because that's not really what it is, but a little bit more of a struggle. And you're sitting there going, hey, maybe like Jalen Duren might be able to be a number 2, but like another wing out there that's at that level. You see Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum do it. And it's like, hey, we need to get aggressive and go get another guy to pair up next to Cade when it comes to like being a wing. Do you think that's finally something that Trajan Langdon's going to look at and go, okay, it's about that time to do it?
I do think they started to get more aggressive because I think one of the big things that the Pistons have been doing up to this point, and I think one of the reasons why you haven't seen as much movement is Trajan's talked about wanting to collect data, wanting to, to get those examples on the court. He wanted to be able to have the time to evaluate this roster, see, what their strengths are, see what their weaknesses are. And I think, even if they go and advance in the playoffs, this year, they talked about at the beginning of this season, they felt like this group deserved the right to have a season together and see what they can be. Well, if they're bounced in the second round, or if we really see, a lot of those offensive limitations, like I think we have a pretty good idea of what this roster is and what it's going to be, and like where, they're really capped as far as like what they can do going forward. So, I do think that gives Trajan more clarity and, more of an understanding of what needs to be done and what needs to be moved. And especially I think some of the contracts, line up with this offseason being, more of an aggressive one, because Tobias is going to be coming out the books. You have a decision to make there. Kevin Huerter has a $17 million expiring contract that's going to open up as well. And then, you have the Duren contract you're going to have to do. Asar is someone that they're probably going to sign to an extension this summer as well. So there's things that you're going to have to manage and figure out internally. But now, as you're starting to pay those guys and starting to, really establish what that core is, now you can really start to, supplement and complement on top of that. And Trajan's talked about, since being in Detroit, like one of the things he said that's like a really important skill that he wants, that he wants to establish is shooting. And I think it's pretty clear this season that the shooting, like the 3-point shooting, just hasn't met that bar. They've been like bottom 5 in the league in makes and attempts this entire season. I don't think Trajan's going to want to be bottom 5 in the league 2 years in a row in that category, especially, as much as this team's dominated in the interior, as great as they can play getting to the paint, as much as that's part of their identity. We've seen time and time again, in order to win at the highest level in this league, the threat of shooting has to be there.
Yeah, that's what we talked about too. When it comes to this Pistons team, is like defensively, we talked about this months ago, but defensively, they showed, they're capable. They have enough defensively, especially in the playoffs, to try and make a run. It's just the shooting. Mm-hmm. And I think I understand Trajan's intent, trying to acquire a guy like Kevin Huerter, who for most of his career has been an excellent shooter. It's just, it just so happens that he's been in a slump this year, and then you acquire him and he's still kind of in a slump. So I understand the intent there. And then also the Jay Nivey, like he was out of the rotation. I don't know. I haven't watched it in Bulls basketball, but I know for a minute he was struggling to make the rotation consistently with Chicago. So I can't really fault the man for that trade.
He hasn't played in 3 weeks.
Yeah, so it's like, I kind of understand that as well. Someone in the chat says, Ryan says, you bring Tobias back on the cheap. I actually tend to. I think I know we talked with Caleb about trading Tobias at the deadline. I think he's one of my favorite Pistons. I think I love Tobias Harris. And I think he kind of brings a lot of the things you look for. Like, oh, let's get rid of Tobias and try and bring in someone who could shoot the ball and go get a bucket when you need one. But they got to bring Tobias Harris back, right? Like, he's not going to be nearly as expensive. And he's like, they call him Unk. I could see why. I mean, he's like the underrated veteran, but not like super washed old veteran. He's not like Udonis Haslem, who's just a voice. He actually can contribute. I would never say that to Udonis Haslem's face, but you get what I'm saying with Tobias Harris. They got to bring that man back, Shawn.
It's pretty crazy to say this, assuming he plays next season, which, I mean, he's going to play next season. Come on. Next season will be his 16th season as an NBA player. 16th already. We're already at that point, which is just unreal. And even at, like 30, like he's currently 33 right now, we'll be 34 by the time next season comes around. I would imagine he's someone, like, especially when you just talk about, like the person in the locker room and all the things that he brings, he's someone to me that feels like, like someone that you'd absolutely want to keep around if you're able to. Now,
he's always available too, Shawn. Always available. He's never
Yep.
hurt, banged up. He's always, I love it, especially for his age.
Yeah, he's missed like he's missed like a few games this year, maybe, but like otherwise, like he's generally always available. You know exactly what to expect from him. I can't think of many or really, if any, moments where I've gone, Tobias, what are you doing? Because he's always in the right place, always making the right plays. And so, again, I definitely think when you talk about like going into next year, I definitely think it would be a lot more beneficial if he's someone that you can bring off the bench as like a sixth man or someone that could be like a complementary piece. The only threat I could see to, like a Tobias coming back is if a team like a Utah or one of these other like young teams that's like on the rise trying to do what the Pistons just did, if they want to pay for like a veteran, like a premium to bring in someone like that. But ultimately, I think, Tobias has, I haven't heard him say this, but I would like from the way he's talked about this stop, I think he's enjoyed, this stop with the Pistons as much as any stop he's had in his career. He's definitely made, quite a bit of money throughout his career. I would imagine, being able to, sign another deal and be, like continue to be in this locker room and to be somewhere where he's appreciated, like somewhere where he's not a punchline. He's someone who's respected. So I think a lot of things, like definitely lean into, the prospect of bringing him back. And I can't imagine anyone in Detroit who wouldn't want to bring him back.
Make it happen. Make it happen, Trajan. I hope so, man. They just need another. I love Jalen Duren. He's a fun player to watch, and you can see he's improving. I mean, week by week, you can see after the All-Star weekend, like you mentioned, he's turning it. I mean, he's an all-star, but now he's turning into like a 20-10 guy every night. But they need like one more guy that any given night. I'm not talking about like Tobias Harris get you a bucket. I'm talking about like Trey Murphy get you a bucket, like someone where you can average 20 points, and I think they'll be on their way. It's just the NBA. It's where they're at. It's where the league's at right now, man. You just need multiple guys. You need like two dudes solidified 20-point scorers, and then you maybe add in like a Durant on top of that. That's just a reality.
Especially if you want to win at the very top of the league, like I was thinking about this earlier. Like at this day and age, you have to be elite on both sides of the court, especially if you want to
100%.
If you want to beat like a Victor Wembanyama and the Spurs coming up, especially if you want to beat the Thunder, like you have to be on your toes playing, your best level of basketball. And even when all else fails, everything breaks. You need a guy who's going to take chicken and make chicken salad. And like you're going to have to be able to do that.
I need to get one of those beepers, dude.
It honestly, like it's like people are like, why don't you just swear? Because it's way funnier if you just like it's just way funny. But anyway,
yeah, we see you have that. We have this.
Hey, bud, come here and sit on my lap.
I like that.
We have Booner. We have Booner.
Bud, come here and sit on my lap.
That's Booner when he's like an angry ball Santa, and he's just like, get over here.
Yeah. Hey, bud, come here and sit on my lap.
Oh man.
Well, good stuff, Shawn. Keep crushing it, man. You know what? I hope everything works out for the Pistons. Hopefully, we get to see some Cade Cunningham playoff basketball. If you guys can please go check out Shawn's stuff from Half Court. He's crushing it, and his ex, of course, at Shawn Half Court. We'll talk to you soon, my friend. Appreciate you.
Appreciate
Thanks
you, Shawn.
Me, boys. Always appreciate it.
There you go. Shawn Murphy joining the show, talking some Detroit Pistons. We got about 19 minutes left, 10 minutes till mailbag, and I guess we can go through one more topic I wanted to get to if we want. We got 9 minutes.
What do we got? What do we got? Is it good?
Yeah, it's so.
How good is it?
Have you seen Skip Bayless's new show on
with his wife?
No.
Well, they sit on the couch and they talk for like an hour and a half about the government.
No, not that one. No, not that one. Cody Kessler went on that show they have, and he basically picked a non-playoff Super Bowl team. And Cody Kessler went with the Lions, and he explains why.
Familiar with this.
So let's play this clip. Let's hear what Cody Kessler had to say about the Detroit Lions.
I think the Lions are going to be a lot better next year. Everyone kind of forgot about the Lions. I don't think that'll be the case this year. I think they're going to be good offensively. I really like Jahmyr Gibbs, even with Montgomery gone. I'm curious to see what his production looks like next year, how they use him. So on the outside, they have a great wide receiver combo with Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams. Sam Laporta's one of the best tight ends in the NFL. Talk about top 5 tight ends, absolutely. Jared Goff, too. I mean, he had quietly a really good season last year. 4,500 yards, 34 touchdowns, only 8 interceptions. He was not the reason that they didn't make it to the playoffs. He did everything that he possibly could. Defensively, they got to get better, and I think they will be. But I think it's important to note, remember how many injuries they had last season, especially to their secondary? And then the X factor in all this is my man Dan Campbell. This is exactly where Dan Campbell wants to be. You're back against the wall. Everyone's written you off. You felt like you let your team down last year. You're not quite a dark horse, but you're a team that no one thinks is going to make a Super Bowl run. And now he can take that motivation into the offseason, lead his guys. I promise you, he probably hasn't slept since the season ended in January. He's going to be ready to go this offseason.
What was that deep breath for? Did you not that?
I think, I think Cody Kessler, I think he knows ball. Okay, he knows ball. He played in the NFL, former NFL quarterback. I think a lot of those points he made are like ChatGPT points, in my opinion. Like, I think they're like, I call them AI points. It's just like you're going through and saying the most obvious stuff. Like and that's how some national media, when they don't really do it, and I get it, they have to cover every single team, but it's like, for example, it's like, well, they have Jahmyr Gibbs. They have 2 good receivers. I think their defense will get better, and they have Jared Goff. And then Dan Campbell, this is where he wants to be, which, by the way, I don't think this is where he wants to be. I do not think this is where Dan Campbell wants to be, but I get what he's saying, though. Like, there wasn't anything there to inspire me hope, but I understand, like, if you're picking non-playoff teams, the Lions are certainly one of those teams that you're picking, like, to surprise everybody. I mean, how many teams missed the playoffs that you can really go with, I guess? It'd be the Lions. It'd be like the number. It shows how shocking it was that they missed the playoffs.
Yeah.
Honestly.
I think it's like the thing, too, the who's going to be the worst to first. Like, there's always every season one team that goes worst in the division that wins the division. It literally happens every year. And it's the easiest pick this year is just the Lions, because it's like, how are they worst, first of all?
Yeah, how are they?
And all of a sudden, even if you don't think their roster's up to date, and Jeff, like you said, you don't think they're where they want to be, they're still favorites to win their division right now, currently. And they still haven't finished all of their moves. They're still going to make more in free agency. They're still going to draft. And like, they're still making those moves, and they're still favorites right now. So it's like, I think it's an obvious one, but I think you're right. Like, if you were like gun to head, you have to pick a team that didn't make the playoffs to make it this year. It's like every single person, 100% of the people probably will say the Lions. And I think it's true. Like, they're going to make the playoffs. I would love the sports book to make them like plus 300 to make the playoffs. I would bet that so fast. I would take all of my equity in crunch time that I have, and I would put that on the line for them to make the playoffs next year.
I think they'll make the playoffs. I think they'll contend for their division. Wouldn't be surprised if they win the division, given we just went through the division. And it's not like there's nothing in this division to be like worried about.
No one's really made a move where you're like, unless you're Klotz looking at Kyler Murray, no one's like,
and you're shaking in your boots over Kyler Murray. But there's nothing in this division that really puts fear in my eyes. But there is, I will say, if we're talking more than division, like Super Bowl, that's where I'm like not as confident. But it's an interesting opinion. I mean, the division and winning the Super Bowl are 2 different things, and they can accomplish one of those things. Drop your mailbag questions. I already see they're coming in. Patty will start us off. Mailbag. Who goes further in the tournament, U of M or MSU?
I think it's Michigan. I think MSU looked good today. I mean, Michigan looked bad in the first half. They were only up 5 or whatever it was. And then the second half kind of just took over and ran away with it. I mean, I have Michigan winning the national championship in my mind. And obviously that's a little biased, but I think most people have them at least going to the Final Four. I don't know if Michigan State can go to the Final Four where they're at. I mean, that the East, I think it's the East that they're in. The East is just absolutely like stacked, in my opinion, and it's hard. I think it's just going to be hard for them. Who do they play next? Let me see. They have Louisville next, and I don't think Louisville is a scrub of a team. I think that's going to be a good ball game. And then they're probably going to end up playing most likely like a UConn next. So you're going to have to go Louisville, UConn, Duke. Like that's.
I'm trying to look at. Yeah, I'm looking right now at the.
That's even before the Final Four, and then the Final Four, you're going to end up having to play like a Florida or a Houston or something. It's a tough path for Michigan State.
Yeah, let me see. I'm looking right now. And to your point, they have an easier path. Yeah, there's not even a question. Because then, I mean, I have MSU losing to UConn. And then so I have them in the Sweet 16. And then I have Michigan going all the way and losing to Duke in the national championship. So, yeah, I have Michigan going farther, and I would agree with you. Tougher path. Ryan, Mailbag, do you want Barnes to move to Will or stay at Sam? Well,
I would rather Barnes stay at Sam. I mean, he wasn't the greatest at it, and like you said, like his like even his pass rush grade it was pretty low, to be honest, for a Sam linebacker, which that's part of the job. But like, how confident are you even him being at Will? Like, I don't know. The Derek Barnes thing really has my brain in a pretzel, if I'm being honest, man. Can't figure this one out.
I would say I feel better about him at Sam than Will, although he wasn't a very, very good Sam, but I feel better than he would be at Will. I just do. And I know you put in there rookie Will. I mean, I think there's linebackers that are coming out that could step in and contribute and be pretty good in coverage. And, maybe there's going to be some moments as a rookie linebacker, but I think there's just no doubt more talented coming in. Like, I think Kyle Lewis could be that guy right away. Anthony Hill could be that guy right away. I think there's some linebackers that could definitely fill that void and be pretty good pretty quickly, in my opinion. I mean, there's linebackers that do it. It's not like usually you don't get the best version of that linebacker until, year 2, 3, but there's been rookie linebackers that can come in and play and play pretty well.
Yeah.
So it happens, especially those two players. Shift God says his back was against the wall, losing 2 coordinators, and the O-line and defense was horrible. Talking about Dan Campbell.
I was thinking Derek Barnes, and I was just sitting there like,
yeah, I mean, yeah, that's fair. I mean, that was the back against the wall thing was technically last year when you lost Ben and Aaron Glenn, and it didn't work out. So I do agree with the fact, though. I like Dan Campbell in adversity situations. I think he's a great coach for that type of stuff. The reality is, though, it's really what you have at your disposal and who you have as assistant coaches. And he bombed hiring as assistants last year. I mean, he just did. So it's true. ETN says Mailbag top 3 favorite prospects in this draft.
It's a good question.
That's a hard question. Yeah, that's tough, man. There's so many.
Well, I think number one, if we're just are we talking just specifically for the Lions?
I mean, yeah, you can do just in general or for the Lions.
Because I mean, if it's for the Lions, in general, obviously it would be like, I don't know, Arvell Reese, Sonny Styles, like that, those types of the guys, But if it's Lions, I would start with a tackle, and I would go like number 1 would be Monroe Freeling. I think it's a top one. After that, let me see. For the Lions, I'm starting to like Spencer Fano, man. And I don't know if you saw this, but he at his pro day today, he actually measured his arm length, and he actually almost got another inch. And they actually were saying, Yeah, and they were actually saying that a lot of people's arm lengths, I don't know if it was something wrong at the combine or what was going on, but they were like everyone's arm length was too short at the combine. And obviously you can make the argument, well, they're doing it at a pro day, so they might give them a little bit. But it's like, hey, if everyone is having issues at the combine, there might be something. So his arm length got a little bigger. I think Spencer Fano, man, if he's at 17, I think that's a steal because I think he could end up playing at any. If you really needed him to play tackle, he could do it. And if you really needed him to go a guard, center, whatever it is, like he can do that. So if you're like looking at a guy that can fill in at left guard, tackle, like wherever you need him, I think he's just such a versatile piece. And I think any position he'll be just good at. And I don't think it's one of those, like maybe not great, but he'll be probably better than what you have at some already. So I would go him as well.
I would say just like first round guys, I think Sonny Styles is up there. I would agree with that. I like watching Sonny Styles. He's going to be a fun player to watch in the NFL.
Sonny's going to be so good, man.
Yeah, he's going to be really good. I would say Spencer Fano. I agree with you there. That's another guy I like. And another player I'm intrigued by, to be honest with you, is Francis Maui-Noah. I just think he can be so good and will be so good. So he's up there. But if we're talking for the Lions just in general, I think some guys that I really like, just random names I've talked about a lot. No order. I would say Jake Slaughter. I would say Kyle Lewis. And I would say between Danny Dennis Sutton and Malachi Lawrence. Those are like the three guys I've really liked for the Lions. Just three random names for you. So, yeah. Let's see here. Jay Hart, Mailbag. Y'all remember when Brad was cheering and screaming in elevators after playoff wins? Good times, right?
Those were the days, man. I'll tell you what. Those were the days.
When we posted that, dude, what game was that? Was that the Bucks game? When they beat the Bucks, or was
he's had a couple screaming moments, to be honest.
Holmes.
He's had a few where he's remember he had the one at Lambeau where he was walking on Lambeau of the field around the fans like screaming.
Oh no, they beat the Rams. And he did the and he's
hey, fair enough. That's for him.
Yeah, and that's like I love it. I mean, I'm not making fun of the guy. I think it's awesome. I think it's sweet.
That's a big moment for that man.
Look at this video.
Can you play that again? Hold on, dude. I just want to put myself in the position of like, imagine being like, well, pause it real quick. Like the guy, me and you have been in these elevators a million times. But look at like the worker. He's probably like,
you got Chris Spielman.
The workers are probably like, what's happening right now? Look at the worker. Look at the worker on the left.
He's like, yo, bro. Yo,
hey, is dude okay?
Oh, that's hilarious, man. This dude, I love it. I absolutely love it, man.
That's so funny.
Let's see. Blitzing Lion Mailbag. Who would you like to open up the season against? Ooh.
Honestly, I haven't thought about any of that, to be honest. I don't know if you have. I don't even know who we're playing next year at this point. I know we have it's an easier schedule. I have no clue who's on the schedule.
I don't even know who they're opening up against, to be honest.
I have no clue. I got to see the schedule.
Honestly, I have. You know what one I want to get my lick back. I want the Vikings.
Vikings. I knew you were. I had a feeling
you swept the Lions this year, and you got. Let's go. Let's roll.
Even the Packers. Didn't we? We got swept by the Packers.
Yeah, actually, that Packers or Vikings. I'll take.
Packers would be a great one. Opening night, just like last year. Remember last year we went to Green Bay and got just destroyed. Opening night this year, I would love to go. I want to go back to Green Bay too. Put a Sunday night football in Green Bay. I want that. I want all the smoke on that game. Please.
I think I'm with you. I want divisional.
I don't even know who else we play on non-divisional, to be honest. I don't know.
Yeah, easy does it. Like Bears, like we've been through the whole Bears shebang. Like, I mean, it's like, yeah, would it be cool? Yeah, but they beat them twice. Like that, it's not as like I want a team that swept the Lions in the division. That's what I want. That's what I want. I want that. I want one of those teams, in my opinion. I want the smoke. I'm with you.
Can I give you a bet real quick for tonight?
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, first off, Houston. I mean, honestly, both. Houston minus 13.5 or 13.5 for the first half spread. And also I got Houston minus 23.5 versus Idaho. Both. That's an easy winner.
You're doing Idaho like that.
It's an easy winner.
Idaho, man.
You know what I started doing?
Ball. They really do.
You know what I started doing today? Because I was like really just trying to figure out stats for winners. Just because my first like 2 hours, the first stretch of games just killed me, dude. It had me in an absolute blender. I was at work. I went on lunch. I went and got food, man, and I was just sitting there like, I need to get locked in. So I'm like looking for stats and stuff. You know what I did? I went on ChatGPT and started researching stats. And I was just like looking at old stats up. I was just like, you can ask ChatGPT anything. Like for Houston, to get that pick today, I was like, can you give me every single first round score from Houston over the last like 10 years? And I got every single one. And I was, and they like,
dude, I'm telling you, it's not
just instantly. It was just like boom, 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 boom. And I was like, thank you. And it gives them to me. And then I was like, can you give me a score prediction for the Houston game? Boom, 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 boom. And it gives like why they give the score prediction. And I'm like, this is incredible. I should have been using this.
Scary how like nuts it is.
Because like people think that when I bet, and you know this, like for years I bet, I do research. Like I'm looking stats. I'm on ESPN. I'm looking at stats, doing this, looking at different trends, all these different things. I always do the research on my own. Like the fact that now I can, if I think of like, I need to go look this up, I can go to ChatGPT and just be like, can you please give me the scores of Houston's last 15 games? And it'll just bang. And like, can you give me like their offensive efficiency, free throw percent, whatever I need that I feel like could help. So Houston tonight, if anyone wants to ride with me, Houston spread. Jeff, I think you should. One time. You haven't bet March Madness once today. Yeah,
well, and there's a reason for that.
This is my favorite play of the day. It's the last game of the night.
I just listen. This whole March Madness. You know more about this stuff. I mean, I could try. I don't like
exactly. I'm giving you one bet.
I'm blind betting.
Can we make a deal? Me and you, real quick. Can we make a deal?
Yeah.
I get to give you one bet a day.
I got to take a bet a day.
One bet a day. And as soon as one loses, you can be out.
Okay. Deal. I'll tail Boone.
I have a plus one, not plus 140. I'm going to do just a plus 100 play, just so like we can double your money. How about that? That feels fair. Do you have your app open right now?
Yes. Send me what you put.
Well, I'm not going to put this exact bet because I already have bets in, but I'm going to give you this bet to place. And this is just tell me when you're ready. Go to the Houston game. I have two. It's two different bets for the same game, for two different games.
Well, I'm doing one bet.
Yeah, it's a parlay. It's plus 103. I'm looking at it right now.
All right, hold on. Give me a second. I'm panicking. I don't know how this app works. Basketball?
Yeah, NCAA men's. It's a NCAAM. It's plus 108 now, so it's going the right
direction. Hold on. I'm looking at. I hit basketball, and all I see is Penn in Illinois.
No, go to. Are you on FanDuel?
Oh, I got it. Okay, I got it. What do you want? What are we doing? Which one are we doing?
All right, so go to Houston.
Yep.
Houston, and then go to alternate spread.
Okay.
And do minus 19.5 or minus 20.5, whatever one to let you do.
Okay.
Which one did you get?
Minus 20.5.
All right, minus 20.5, and then go to the St. Louis game.
St. Louis. Where's that one at? Oh, yep.
St. Louis at Georgia. Go to player props.
Okay.
Robbie Avila points. 10
Over?
points. No, just it should be alternate.
Alternates. Where's his points? Oh,
it should be the very top one.
I got it. So you said Robbie Avila 10.
It's
10
minus
points.
340. Yep. And it should be like plus 108. If you want, there should be a boost somewhere in FanDuel for college basketball. If you want to use one of the boosts. And out of respect, I just put the bet in. I boosted mine to plus 162.
All right. I'm with you.
I'm at 162. Do you know who Robbie Avila is?
No.
He's a legend.
Houston 20.5, Robbie Avila 10. All right, we're in it.
Let me share my screen real quick.
We'll revisit this tomorrow.
Robbie Avila.
By the way, Jamie, Colton Hood, I'll pass on. I'm going to pass on.
That's Robbie Avila.
Jesus. Okay, I'm glad I bet on him.
10 points, bro. He's a legend. Come on. Let's go, Robbie!
All right, let's rock. We'll catch you guys tomorrow, 8 p.m. Robbie Avila, 10 points. Houston minus 20.5. We'll see how that ages. And so tomorrow.
Hey, if it loses, you're out forever for the year.
All right, deal. Peace.
Love you guys.